Lagos, 2020. The pandemic had turned the city into a ghost of itself. Empty streets, shuttered shops, and a lingering fear that clung to every corner. For Tund, a 29-year-old Uber driver, the night shift was his only way to survive after losing his mechanic job. The app pinged at 1 a.m., a pickup in Lekki Phase 1. The name, Chitty. Simple enough. Tund pulled up to a dimly lit street, where a man in a black cap and jacket stood under a flickering street lamp. He slid into the back seat without a word, his face half hidden. "Is this for Chitty?" Tund asked, glancing in the rearview mirror. The man nodded, muttering, "Just drive." The destination was a 30-minute ride to Aja, a quiet estate Tund didn't know well. The silence in the car was heavy, broken only by the hum of the engine. Tund tried to make small talk. "Rough night." No response. He glanced again. Chitty was staring straight at him, unblinking, his eyes catching the glow of passing lights. 10 minutes in, Tund noticed something odd. Chitty's hands were clenched, and he kept shifting, like he was holding something under his jacket. The air grew thick with unease. "Everything okay back there?" Tund asked, his voice cracking slightly. Chitty leaned forward, close enough for Tund to feel his breath. "Keep driving. Don't stop." Tund's heart raced, but he obeyed, gripping the wheel tighter. As they neared Aja, the streets grew darker, lined with unfinished buildings and overgrown lots. Chitty suddenly spoke. "Turn here. That house." He pointed to a gated compound, its walls crumbling, no lights on. Tund hesitated. "This place looks empty." Chitty's voice dropped to a whisper. "It's not. Pull in." Against his better judgment, Tund drove through the open gate, stopping near a rusted door. Chitty got out, leaving the door open, and walked into the shadows of the house. Minutes passed. Tund's phone vibrated, another ping from Uber. Confused, he checked the app. The ride with Chitty was gone, no record of it. His stomach dropped. Then footsteps. Chitty reappeared, his jacket now unzipped, revealing a glint of metal tucked into his waistband. "Back to Lekki," he said, sliding in. Tund wanted to refuse, but fear kept him silent. The drive back was agonizing. Chitty's stare never left the mirror. At the pickup spot, Chitty leaned forward. "You didn't see me tonight, understand?" Before Tund could respond, he was gone, vanishing into the night. Tund reported the ride to Uber, but they claimed no passenger named Chitty existed. Days later, he heard whispers of a cult in Aja, abducting drivers for rituals. The twist: the house Chitty entered was a known hideout, abandoned after a police raid. Tund quit driving that week, haunted by the eyes in his mirror. Amaka, a 24-year-old student, relied on Uber to get home from her night classes in Yaba. One rainy evening in 2021, she booked a ride at 10 p.m. The driver, Emeka, arrived in a sleek Toyota Corolla. He seemed friendly, chatting about the weather as they headed to her flat in Surulere. But halfway through, Amaka noticed the GPS route was off. "This isn't the way," she said, frowning at her phone. Emeka chuckled. "Shortcut, don't worry." But the streets grew unfamiliar, narrow, unlit, with no other cars. Amaka's unease grew as Emeka's chatter stopped. She texted her roommate, sharing her location. Then her phone lost signal. Panic set in. "Where are we going?" she demanded. Emeka didn't answer, his knuckles whitening on the wheel. The car slowed near a dark alley in Mushin. Amaka's heart pounded. "Let me out," she screamed, grabbing the door handle. It was locked. Emeka turned, his face no longer friendly. "Stay calm," he said, but his voice was cold. Suddenly, headlights flashed behind them. A Danfo bus honked, forcing Emeka to swerve. In the chaos, Amaka unlocked the door and leapt out, sprinting into the rain. She flagged down a passing bike, sobbing as she told the rider what happened. When she checked Uber later, the ride was marked as cancelled, no driver named Emeka listed. The twist: her roommate's location share showed Amaka's phone last pinging near a notorious kidnapping den. Police found the Corolla abandoned days later, but Emeka, or whoever he was, had vanished. Chioma, a 19-year-old living alone in Ikeja, ordered Uber Eats one night in 2020. Starving after a long day, she tracked her driver, Ade, in a blue Kia. Her instructions were clear: leave the food at the door. At 8 p.m., her phone buzzed, food delivered. But when she opened the door, nothing was there. Confused, she stepped outside, scanning the compound. A neighbor, Mr. Bayo, approached, holding her food bag. "The driver was acting strange," he whispered, "peering through your windows." Chioma's skin crawled. She thanked him, locked her door, and ate, trying to shake the unease. That night, her dog, Max, woke her with low growls. The clock read 2 a.m. Then, a loud bang on her window. Max barked furiously as Chioma froze, clutching her phone. Another bang. Trembling, she called the police, whispering her address. Peering through the blinds, she saw a figure in the yard, and across the street, a blue Kia. Police arrived, finding fresh footprints in the muddy yard. The Kia was gone, but they caught Ade hours later, lurking near another customer's home. The twist: his phone had photos of Chioma's apartment, taken through her windows. He'd been stalking her for weeks, using deliveries as cover. In 2022, Kemi and her boyfriend, Deo, used Uber after a date night in Victoria Island. Exhausted, they waited for their ride at 11 p.m. A black SUV pulled up, and Kemi, assuming it was theirs, asked, "Uber for Kemi?" The driver nodded silently. They climbed in, not checking the app. The driver took a strange route, heading toward Ikoyi's back streets. Deo nudged Kemi, whispering, "This isn't right." Her phone buzzed. Their real Uber had just arrived at the pickup spot. Fear gripped them. The driver's face was unreadable, his hands tight on the wheel. Deo leaned forward. "We need to get out." The driver ignored him, speeding up. Kemi dialed 112, but before she could speak, the driver slammed the brakes at a deserted junction. "Get out," he growled. They scrambled out, hearts racing, as the SUV sped off. The real Uber driver later told them fake drivers were targeting couples in six, luring them for robberies, or worse. The twist: police found the SUV abandoned, linked to a string of abductions. Kemi and Deo never learned who the driver was, but they check every ride twice now.